here is singer-songwriter, broadcaster, audio-video artist, entertainment agent, and your host. It's the master storyteller himself, James Kevin O'Connor.
Hey everybody, guys and ladies, thank you for coming back to podcasting your global career. Really delighted with my guest today, but before I get into my guest today, I would like to just inspire you guys to please share this episode. I know there's someone out there who will find this content really valuable. And also, you're helping this show immensely by sharing it with somebody you know. My guest today, his name is Brandon Andrew. He's been in sales for over 25 years and medical device sales and management industry for 17 years. So for you people who love sales, this is the show for you. In that time, Brandon, he's built up over 40 clinics, trained and hired over 30 employees, and personally licensed 4 other hearing professionals. He's conducted over 100 seminars on hearing loss and hearing aid technology and has maintained a position of top producers in his industry for over 7 years. He's personally sold and dispensed over $1 million in hearing aid sales a year for the past 5 years, which is 50% more than the average. He believes in providing world-class service to each individual. It's not only needed, but it's deserved by all. But his greatest joy comes from helping others succeed and reaching their potential. So let's strap up our seatbelts because we're taking a ride from Salt Lake City to your town today with Brandon Andrew. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Dharmic Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, James Kevin O'Connor, and today I have Brandon Andrew with me. Welcome, Brandon. Thanks for being here today. It's good to meet you, see you here out in Salt Lake City. We're on a remote location, having a good time and meeting a lot of really high-level, excited entrepreneurs. So I'm glad we have a chance to have some time together. So you're in the healthcare industry and have been for some time, and both my son and my fiance are both in the industry. So I'm excited to talk to you about your journey. And first of all, how did you get into this sector?
It's a good question. So prior to this, I was a regional sales manager for a large countertop company out of LA. And they had a manufacturing plant in Arizona. Moved to Arizona. And while I was there, one of my ecclesiastical leaders was in audiology, fit hearing devices. And he was like, Brandon, I can see you're like working with people. You're passionate about helping people. Would you be interested in this industry? And I was like, I don't know, So I took a few days off and went and worked with him in his clinic, just kind of saw what he did. And I was like, gosh, this is far more rewarding on a personal level than what I'm doing. And so I went down the path of a sponsorship program for the next while and got licensed, and then, opened my own clinic. And then since then, just been managing other people's clinics and just recently partnered up with 2 good friends, and we're opening clinics across the Western United States. And so, anyway, that's kind of how I got into it, though.
What an undertaking. Opening a clinic, just one, has to be a monumental task. But to do
There's a little stress there.
Yeah, but to do many. And so it sounds like you sort of scaled this into, something bigger than you first imagined. So when you did the first one, what was it that made you say, hey, I can do this? Or, was it just a thought that hit you right away, or is it something you developed over time that you wanted to do?
Well, so both of my parents are entrepreneurs in sales. And so they were always like, work for yourself, don't work for anybody else. And so I guess I kind of always had that growing up. I grew up buying and selling bicycles when I was 12, mowing lawns, to buying and selling cars when I was 15 until forever, And so I guess I kind of, first of all, had that being pushed, I guess, from my parents, right? And then going forward to opening my own clinic and going from there. So it's an interesting story, but in '08, the world, kind of United States, we got rocked pretty well.
Yeah.
And that I had just opened my clinic about 8 months before that, and hired two of my friends to come on, started the licensing process with them. And then everything fell apart. And all of my life savings, everything just went down the toilet.
Oh, boy.
And so from that point on, I was like, do I want to stay in this industry? Should I get out of it, go do something else? And, it took a minute for me to recognize that this is where I want to stay. I like the impact that I can make in other people's lives, and the feeling you obviously get when you're helping somebody else, with your podcast or whatever it is. So I decided to stick in it, but rather than own my own clinic, I decided I'm really about developing talent in other people and helping them reach their potential. And so I wanted to then work for other companies and helping them build up their clinics and their practices. And so from that time until now, that's kind of what I've done. I was with a great company for about 10 years. And, when I started with them, they had about 4 or 5 clinics, and then we got bought out, which was kind of the whole purpose of me starting with them, was helping them build that up to 130 clinics or whatever it was. And last day of November last year was my last day. The first day of December was my first day with my, partners that I'm with now. And, we probably only have about 10 clinics right now, but the goal is to build that to 50 to 80 clinics over the next, 3 to 5 years, and then probably max out at that point. But, what's got me to this point was just wanting to help people, and being passionate about helping those who are in need with hearing loss. I've had that in my family, people who have been struggling with hearing and understanding. And so having that be a part of my life, and family members that are hearing impaired, has always kind of pushed me to try and do what I can to help those who are in need of that. So
I invest my time in people. Your quote. Love that. Something I try to live by too. It's the most valuable investment in the world,
absolutely.
So many things to unpack here. First of all, the clinics, and how were you able to partner with capital investment firms, private equity firms? Like, how did you fund the whole?
Yeah. So, like in any industry, if you can work with your vendors, the manufacturers, in our industry, there's like 6 main manufacturers across the world. Typically, I would tell somebody, if they're, getting into that, see what you can do, going down that road, and then picking the manufacturers that you want to align yourself with, who's going to give you the best support, and all of that. And so, some of this is private capital. Other may be directly coming from the manufacturer. And so it depends on, how big you want to grow, the commitment you're going to get from your manufacturers. They all have a commitment unit of, you need to fit this many of our products, or this percentage of our products, if we're going to be giving you, the capital to be able to grow.
And just to be clear, that we're talking about specifically medical device companies?
Hearing aid manufacturers.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the ones that, we work with specifically. But a lot of companies may do, private capital, or try and raise their own, or go to banks or whatever it is. In this case, we want to work with the manufacturers, because they're the ones we're dealing with every day. They have a vested interest clearly in, our success. So it's a good relationship, when you go down that road.
So tell me about, you got inspired by your family to do the hearing aid road. They've been around for a long time. As a matter, I remember my grandfather, like, he was like feeding back all the time, all the time. It's like, and my mother thought it was my electric guitar. And it's my grandfather's hearing aids, that's how it's like, what's going on here? So obviously we've come a long way with technology from those days, And even my mom had the same thing. When she got older, she was using the hearing aids all the time. The batteries would work, and she lost it, and very expensive. So where are we in this cycle now? Like, what's the latest technology for hearing aids and how they work?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I started, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago, we had just kind of come into this digital era from an analog hearing aid, which, when you think of an analog hearing aid, like what you're talking about, it's primarily just an amplifier, right? It doesn't find certain frequencies to raise up. It raises everything up like an amplifier does, right?
Yeah.
Now, digital hearing devices, we can go in frequency specific, raise up those areas where the, loss is located at.
Yeah.
And so that had just started, and thank goodness I started at that time. But from then until now, huge. I mean, and honestly, some of the biggest changes that have taken place have been in the last 3 to 5 years. And so people who maybe have got fit with hearing devices 5, 6 years ago, different story now. Now they're AI, language translators in it,
Wow.
to Bluetooth compatibility. You don't have to deal with those dumb batteries. They're rechargeable. They'll hold the charge.
So let me stop you for a second.
Yeah.
You said something so important. It changes the language. So how about somebody who doesn't need a hearing aid? I want to go to Japan, but I don't speak Japanese. I know what they're saying. Can I do that?
You can do that for sure.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. The thing that's cool is that I'm a big techie person anyway. But when it comes to a quality of life issue, and you're relying on the technology that's there to increase the quality of my relationship with everybody I interact with, it's a big deal.
It really
And
is.
so now it's a great time if you do have hearing loss to be able to get the help that's available out there. The medical arena and technology and advancements that have been made in the last 5 or 10 years is astounding.
Yeah.
And they've spared no expense in this area. I know every manufacturer out there probably spends anywhere from about 80 to 120 million just in R&D. And so a lot of times people are like, why are hearing aids so much? That they're teeny. It's not like, a TV screen. It's this big thing that you're getting. And it's like, well, yeah, they have to nano size all of that technology. And it's all the R&D that goes into bringing that to the market. And so, they're the innovators of a lot of different tech that's out there, from the technology of noise canceling that's in our phones and other areas of our life that we're becoming accustomed to. It typically starts out in this area of manufacturing hearing aids and being able to attenuate that noise while giving that priority amplification of the speech, which is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? So,
I mean, you touch on so many good points, and it keeps reminding me of my mom. And when you bring in the personal element to this, it's like, I remember her when she was doing the hearing aids, and they were working sort of, and they weren't, but she would be excluded from conversations. And she's very gregarious, and she just loves people, kids, and you could see her from across a noisy room with all the family around. Everybody's having all these conversations, and she can't participate. And you see her struggling, trying to almost lip read and trying to get in the conversation. And like you mentioned, it's a big deal for people when they lose, the edge on that, and it just removes them from society.
Yeah.
So going to the noise level thing, which drives me crazy, and thank God I have good hearing for a guitar player. I'm blessed, because I've always protected my hearing, because it's one of my, as a songwriter, that's the most valuable thing I have, is my hearing. But I still get really crazy when I'm in a real loud room with hard surfaces and the sound is just bouncing everywhere.
Right.
And the noise elevation, just people compete unconsciously, unknowingly, raising their voices louder, and they're right across the table from each other.
Yeah.
And you're just getting pelted.
Yeah.
So you bring up an interesting point of, you're able to attenuate these devices in such a way that it can shield some of that background noise out.
Yeah.
And just, wow.
Yeah.
That's,
it's crazy how they're able to do it now. But, when I first started with this and we said, oh, they had noise canceling features, I was like, yeah, do they though? And they did, but nothing like it is today.
yeah. It didn't work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reality is, look, you and I go sit in a restaurant and we both have good hearing. I'm still going to be looking at your lips because
Yeah, I can't hear. It
right.
gets squelched out. It's
Right.
like, what did he say? It was such a syllable. It just got lost,
Yeah.
Did he just curse at me, or did he compliment me?
Yeah. And so, everybody kind of has that challenge anyway. But then
Yeah.
when you have a hearing loss, the thing that people don't really recognize is that people who have a hearing loss, it's not that they don't hear people. It's that they don't understand them. It didn't come
Yes.
through clear.
Yeah.
And it's because of the type of loss that all of us typically develop, which is called a high frequency hearing loss or clarity.
Right.
We don't hear the consonants. We hear the vowels, which, you think of the vowels, oh, get really loud.
Yeah.
We can project that loudly, but the consonants you can't make loud no matter what you do physically because we enunciate those with our lips, tongue, and teeth, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to really focus on what the problem is, which is an understanding problem, not a hearing problem. And so when other people know that about those who are hearing impaired, it helps us deal with that differently. They don't need you to speak up and yell at them. They
Yeah.
already hear you,
Right.
right? They need you to enunciate,
Slow down.
face
a little
them, look
bit.
at, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be really clear. Yeah, it's different when, especially if somebody's adopting slang or down homey language, and you just going through it really fast, and somebody's hearing challenged. They're getting maybe 50% of what you're trying to convey to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you, best way for people to reach you and support you, Brandon. How can we reach you? How can everybody connect with you?
Yeah. My LinkedIn profile is probably about the easiest. Although I gotta admit, I haven't really used much of that in the past.
Yeah.
So, Brandon Andrew, I'm in Utah, through LinkedIn, or they can reach out to me, Brandon Andrew Coaching at
Okay.
Gmail.
Okay.
But I don't know if I need, my thing here today isn't to help me. It's to probably raise awareness and help those. We're always looking for dedicated hearing care providers.
Okay.
Or, I think honestly, the most important people in our clinics is our person who is our front office, our patient care coordinator.
Right.
They're huge,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times in any business, we look over the most important people that really make everything else work,
Yeah.
which is the person who's greeting the person coming in the door. So I really value people with integrity that are there to help people, not just help themselves.
Yeah. The
And-
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And not
Absolutely.
just that, but people forget. And I'll share a quick story. I was getting a blood test one time. And it was this busy clinic. I was going in for I don't know what a test or something. And boom, one person after another rushing in to get the blood, and the woman never looked up. Big woman sitting behind. She asked my name, and I said, "What's your name?" And she just stopped and looked at me like she gave me her name, and sort
You
of
care.
smiled. Yeah. And it wasn't that I asked. It's that no one else did,
Yeah.
and she probably saw 100 people that day.
Yeah.
And just little things like you're mentioning, and I feel comfortable sharing these things with you because I can tell you the same way. Whenever I sit down to eat, the first thing I do is ask the person's name who's serving, because it's just like, you want everybody to feel valued because they're so worth it.
Yeah.
Because we all have value. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And, especially like the things that you're doing, you're helping people like here. I mean, that's just an amazing, you go out in the forest and hear the birds singing out,
Yeah.
things like that. Hear
All these
water
things we
rushing.
take for granted that you don't
Yeah.
recognize other people are missing out on.
Yeah. Tell me about your coaching a little bit.
Yeah. So, I like to work with individuals that are maybe stuck in a rut, trying to figure out, and this really kind of comes down to coaching as far as directly related to sales. I've been in sales since I was like 12. My mom and dad were both, entrepreneurs and salespeople. And so
you got it in your DNA.
I
Yeah.
can't get out of it.
You're probably a
unfortunately.
good closer too. It's like, how do you need 10 minutes to close this coaching call? Right?
No,
It's,
I'm probably not the greatest closer, to be honest. I'm not.
well,
a
that's
hard
because
closer,
you're not
but-
a pressure guy. I
Yeah,
can tell.
yeah.
You just like let them buy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
that's
exactly right.
big difference.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
For me with sales, I guess here's the thing, with coaching, and for me, which coaching really just comes down to being, are you a good listener? And can you perceive what the person's needs are, but, and then try and help them find a solution for that. I have a degree in psychology as well that I got after I started this industry. And it was because I wanted to really understand what it takes to help a person get from point A to point B. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that being said, And in the communication, arena that we're in, I think it really comes down to taking the time and the effort to understanding where a person's at, to assessing how to get them to the next stage. And so, as far as coaching goes, whether it's sales or whatever it is, that's the starting point, is becoming a good listener. I think that's the most effective tool in any relationship, right? And
Yeah.
if you can't hear, it's hard to know what to do next. The saying of, people may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how they
How
felt,
they felt. Yeah.
you know,
So
and
important.
has a lot to do with what we hear. If it's hard to have that feeling if you didn't hear it in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think being a good listener, being persistent, consistent, having integrity in what you're doing in your workplace or whatever, those are the guiding structures I grew up with, from my dad is, and he's passed on now, but some of those pearls of wisdom that I got from him was being consistent,
Yeah.
being persistent and having integrity in everything that you do. That's what brings about a life where you can look back on and have the gratitude for the blessings you have, but feeling of success and accomplishment,
Yeah.
for me.
Right. What's the most passionate part of your day? Like, what do you really love to do? Because you do a lot of things, but what really gets you fired up?
Helping other people,
Yeah,
you
just
know.
in a general sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's the person who's at our front or the patient that's in front of me. Or I'm big into family. I have very talented daughters and my son. I think being able to have those conversations and being able to, if I can, help them out, those are the things that I look forward to.
Three
every day.
kids?
4 kids.
4 kids?
Yep, 3 girls and a son. Yeah.
Wow. God bless you.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah.
So tell me about, what do you do for you? What does Brandon do when he wants to chill out? Just take some time. You're obviously, and you're in good shape, so you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So what gets you fired up about just having downtime away from the business side of life?
Yeah, I like being in nature. I've always been into hiking, off-roading. We were talking about,
Yeah.
I have a Jeep. I've always been into that. Motorcycles, all of that stuff is awesome. But I love playing games with my kids, whether it's video games, with my son, or board games with my daughters. Um, I love listening to audiobooks. I probably do a book a month. And so, yeah, those things I get
Yeah.
excited about.
And podcasts too.
Yeah. It's a new thing for me, but it's pretty awesome.
The podcast became the saving grace for me. I did a lot of trips from New Jersey to Nashville, and I drove a lot because I get to go through the Shenandoah Valley. I'm a nature lover too, and I like just all of that. But a podcast is your best friend when you're on an extended car trip. It's like you could just burn through them,
Yeah.
and pick up so much knowledge and learning. When did you first become interested in podcasts? Was it along with the audiobooks, or sort of at the same time?
It was probably when this whole COVID pandemic,
Yeah.
scenario, I started getting into following different podcasters, and I was traveling distances from one clinic to the next at times. And so, man, they were kind of my lifeblood during that time, listening to really good podcasters and trying to take away those pearls of wisdom that they have. And, I love interacting and hearing people who most people aren't aware of,
Yeah.
because they're the ones that are kind of the secret, warriors that are out there, that are in the trenches, that are giving you real feedback that they haven't really thought maybe a lot about. And
Yeah.
you're like, man, I can understand where that person's coming from. So yeah, I love podcasts.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
For certain people, then I would counsel to say the reason why. I'd say, I've spent probably, I don't know how many thousands of dollars on courses and things, and I probably took away more value for free off of podcasts than all those courses combined. It's
Yeah.
such a rich ecosystem of value bombs just waiting for you to, help yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any closing thoughts you'd like to finish up with? Anything you'd like to say to the audience as far as offer a thought, blessing, anything at all?
Yeah. I think, something my dad always said was, Brandon, you need to give world-class service to every person you come in contact with, or you don't deserve their business. And I think that's something that our society's maybe kind of lost. I think as we get into this internet digital era, we become socialized in a way.
Yeah.
And I think we got to remember that we're all here having this experience, and our own experience is enriched by trying to enrich other people's, of giving back, reaching out, and giving your best in every opportunity you have. And that's what I know has brought me a lot of peace. And I'm so grateful my dad gave me that.
Yeah. Amen to that. Brandon, thank you so much for being a part of the Dharmic Evolution. I appreciate you being here, and I just want to wish all of God's blessings on you, your family, your children, your wife, and your business moving forward. God bless you.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you.
All right. Another great show. So glad you guys showed up today for Podcasting Your Global Career. Please check out all the links in the show notes. My coaching link is in there. Let's uncover your purpose and get a discovery session with me. No obligation. What have you been waiting for? I'm your host for Podcasting Your Global Career, James Kevin O'Connor. So until the next time when we meet again, I'll either see you on the socials or I'll see you from the stage.
Ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. If wishes were windows, I'd open one and find that freedom is really a simple state of mind. So ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. Ride on, baby, you and I can find the key. Ride on, we can unlock each other's destiny. I taste the breeze of freedom, it's tingling on my tongue. You and I out on the road will stay forever young. We'll stay forever young. So ride on, baby, won't you take a ride with me? Ride on, we can untangle all the mystery. Ride on, baby, you and I can find the key. Ride on, we can unlock each other's destiny. I'll take you places that you've never seen. I'll take you places that you never dreamed. I'll take you places that were pictures in your mind. I'll take you places